Hey, how's it going guys? My name is Ray. And today is the third week of my Christmas idea series. So today I'm going to show you how to make apple pie. But I promise you this won't be your usual apple pie. You'll be able to amaze your guests with this. Let's cook.
There are 4 components to this recipe, and we're gonna start by making the apple fillings. Simply core, peel and slice some Granny Smith apples. I'm using about 5 to 6 pieces today. And it's easier if you have a bowl of peels and cores like this, so you don't have to go back and forth to the bin. You can use knife to do this, but it's better if you use mandolin, because you want to achieve even thickness for the apples. You want everything to be about this thickness. Discard any pieces that's not even or too thick, and put the rest in a bowl of cold lemon water to stop it from oxidizing too quickly. Next, we're gonna make some caramel cinnamon sugar. We're gonna start by making a normal caramel with 1.5 cup of granulated sugar. And as usual, I want to remind you that you don't really have to use any utensils to do the caramel, because it will just stick to the utensils. And I think it's better to just shake the pan around like so. Just keep shaking the sugar around over medium-high heat. And here my caramel is almost done. I'm just waiting for those little pieces to dissolve. And once you got a completely liquid caramel, just pour them onto a sheet of baking paper, or if you have silicone mat, you can use that as well. And try to distribute it around like so, because you want it to be as thin and even as possible. And once it's cooled down completely, you should be able to break it apart like this. Transfer it to a blender or food processor, and just blitz it until you get it back to the original sugar consistency. I know this process might seem weird for some people because you're turning granulated sugar into liquid caramel and back into granulated sugar, but the point is to infuse the caramel flavor into the granulated sugar. Therefore, when you combine it with the apples, the apple won't be too sweet and it will have more caramel flavors. Next, we're gonna add another staple ingredient for apple pies, which is a teaspoon of cinnamon powder and also a pinch of salt just to balance the flavors. Next, you'll need to find a mold for this apple filling. I'm using this rectangular silicone mold. This is actually a loaf pan. You can use anything you like, just line it with some baking paper. Then you can start layering the apple slices and the sugar together. When deciding how tall the apple stack's gonna be, you gotta consider that the apple gonna shrink a lot. Like in my case, I filled it up all the way to the top, but when it's cooked, it actually shrank to half of the original size. So you definitely want to take that into consideration, because you don't want your layer of apples to be too thin. You want the apple to be the star of the dish. So here I'm just breaking up some apple slices to even out the thickness between the sides and the middle. Then when you're done, cover it with a piece of baking paper and press it down as best as you can. You want the apple pieces to be as compact as possible. Then just pop them into preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes, or simply until all the apples are cooked to your liking. Next, we're gonna have to make the base of our apple pie. I'm gonna use the PATE SUCRE recipe again. So here I have 125 grams of butter mixed with 1.5 cup of flour and also 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. Just blitz them together until you get the breadcrumb consistency. And when you got that, just transfer them to a bowl. Then just mix in 1 to 2 tablespoons of cold water, or until you can do this to the mixture. It should be lumpy enough for you to form a dough. All you have to do now is just to knead them together until it forms a dough. And once you've achieved that, just cover it with a cling wrap and just leave it in the fridge for about 20 minutes or until you're ready to use it. Now when the apple filling is done and has completely cooled down, it usually forms a pool of apple caramel. You don't really need that for this recipe, so you can discard it. But by discard, I obviously mean to save it for your ice cream topping. Trust me, it's amazing. So you want your apple filling to be on the dry side and to be as compact as possible. So that's why I'm pressing the apples after I drain it like so. And we can just leave the apple filling in the fridge until it's kinda set. And now we can just move on to the next component of this dish. Roll out the PATE SUCRE dough into 1/2 centimeter thickness and cut it out into rectangular shape. And to be more accurate, you can use the loaf pan as a guide, just so the base and apples are on the same size. And just prick the dough with a fork so it doesn't bubble up too much in the oven. Then let it rest back in the fridge for about 10 minutes and then pop it into the preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes or until it's golden brown. Then just portion it out any way you like. You can cut off the end bits so it looks prettier. And now it's time to move on to the third component. This one is pretty simple, just some puff pastry, almond and powdered sugar. Then cover it with the baking paper on both sides. Press it down with another tray because you want it to be flat, not bubbling up. And just bake it in the preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then just portion it out the same way as you did with the base. And now we're back to the apples. All we want to do now is just to flip it over like so onto a baking paper. And the mixture should hold its shape like so. And did I mention it's gonna shrink a lot? Yeah, that's how much it shrank. So now we want to portion them out as around the same size as the base. And after you cut it, just tidy them back up so it looks nicer. And last but not least, we're gonna move on to the last component of this dessert, which is just a simple cinnamon cream. All you need to do is just to whip some cream, add a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and also 3 to 5 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And once you get stiff peak, you can stop and transfer the mixture into a piping bag, or if you don't have one, you can always use Ziploc bag. Just cut the end, and now we're ready to assemble. Using a spatula, just scoop out the apple filling onto the base. I'm just gonna do 3 pieces for now. Then top it with the cinnamon cream. And last but not least, the hat, which is the almond puff pastry. And it is ready to serve. And there you have it guys, my attempt on reinventing the traditional apple pie. Same flavor profile, just different look.
So I think that recipe went quite well. And if you did like this recipe, please leave this video a like and don't forget to subscribe. And also follow me on Instagram and Twitter because I upload every week. And also check out my previous videos right over here. And links and measurements gonna be in the description box below. Leave a comment below, let me know what you wanna see me cook next week. Till next time guys, bye!